Morning, everybody. It is 8:11 a.m., October 14th. And of course, the China and U.S. trade deal, our U.S. trade tensions are escalating. That's why we're down this morning. We're gapping down. Had a little bit of a rally yesterday. That market was very weird. It's compressed range. Um, Obviously, there was the ATR was lifted yesterday, but we had a very compressed range, even with the ATR. And all indications look like we would go higher yesterday internally, and we did. But it was very odd the way it moved. Now yesterday's was a Columbus Day. The banks were closed, bond market was closed. That maybe had something to do with the movement. That was a little weird. However, that brings us to today, and we're gapping down below yesterday's lows. We actually filled the gap in the ES that opened up on Sunday in the overnights. So interesting to say the least. This is probably catching people off guard who got long. So this is going to make this market very wild. Okay, very wild. Even on a daily chart, when you have a bar that's that big that happened on Friday, and then you have a little baby daily candle inside of that, it's going to make this market very difficult to trade. All right, very difficult. Yesterday, I tried my hand in like a little futures, and it was just too erratic with the ATR. It was just all over the place. I ended up doing a SPX put credit spread and made some money on that. I probably looks like I'm probably gonna do that again, unless I probably change a style to more of a scalping style because of the ATR. That's the probably the only way I'll trade today, unless I get some setup that I'm like it's undeniable. But I probably will look to move quickly in and out today because it's just whippy. It's real whippy. The VIX is back up to 20, almost 21 and a half. So, um, yeah, it should be a little wild today. Volume is way up today. So, should be interesting. All right, should be interesting. We just had bank earnings this morning. All right, bank earnings this. Wow, AMD is up. I've just noticed that. AMD is positive. Out of all these laggards, AMD is up. That's so crazy. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That is the way I choose to make my game plans around. All right, I use anchored VWAPs. All right, to tell me who's in control. I use market internals to let me know what's going on under the hood when the market opens. Yesterday, Bookmap was not that helpful just because it's so wild. Okay, so a lot of my edge with Bookmap and a lot of my edge is yesterday. It was just so whippy. It really was. Right. Um, so that being said, let's have a good day. All right. Now, if you want to join, please subscribe, set an alert to my YouTube channel. That'd be much appreciated. Do this every morning. Give you the market story. Give you the headlines. Give you the market news, which would be headlines, right? Give you the economic calendar, earnings calendar, why the market's doing what it's doing, right? The leaders and the laggards. We get into all that. Give you technical analysis, and then I give you the long short trade scenarios in ES and Nasdaq futures. Okay, that'll be your morning coffee. Come join me. All right. Now, if you want some in-depth intraday commentary, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. All right, go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up, sign up. All right. Now, yesterday, here's my Discord. Right. Yesterday, I was letting everybody know how this looks. Ticks look strong. Internals, every sector is green. This is bullish for now. And yesterday, I gave you a little hint of how I use gamma flip points. Kind of had like a triple gamma flip point here. It's one of my favorite setups. I put a bull put credit spread on the SPX, and pretty much that wound up expiring worthless. So I would have got the full 370, but I got 230. That's not bad. Anyway, That was the options trades that I dropped yesterday. There's the SPX trade recaps. Still owe you guys a video. All right. And weekly expected move indicator. That's one stock that breached the expected move to the upside this week is already Broadcom. It did it yesterday on that news with OpenAI, the partnership. Okay, so that's the one stock that's really made a nice move already on Monday morning. All right, so let me be your indicator. Okay, let me be your indicator. You don't have to have alerts for me if I trade. Just use me as an indicator. I think that's suffice enough. All right, let's move on. Let's go to futures watch list here and let's see what's moving markets. All right, we got our VIX is up over 13.5%. All right, we're at a 21.61 VIX. All right, 30-year bonds being bought. Gold up. Dollar is starting. Like I said, watch that dollar. Silver's flat. Dow is down 0.71. 10-year yield is down 0.89. ES down 0.92. Nasdaq's down 1.16%. Russell down 1.22. Crude is getting destroyed. I told you, I'm on the lookout for crude to get long. I'm gonna wait for this thing to bottom out. All right. Gas prices should go down even farther now with the $58 a barrel. Bitcoin really getting hammered, down 4.15%. All right, so Bitcoin is really getting hammered here. Ethereum down 7%. I saw some things about whales having short bets in the Bitcoin. We'll have to see. All right, let's look at Mag 7 Plus here. There's your, I don't know, maybe there's something came out with AMD. I don't know right now. Maybe there's something I don't know. Let's see if there's something here. Oracle and AMD expand partnership. That's probably why. I think that happened at 8:18. 8:18. That just happened. Interesting. Well, Oracle's not getting love from it, but AMD sure is. All right, AMD, unbelievable, right? All right. Now, JP Morgan, banks reported earnings. So let's see who's under 1% here. Amazon down 1.23, Meta down 1.27, Google down 1.55, Nvidia down 1.75, Broadcom down almost 2%. That is such a wild little mover. What a little wild little thing that is. That's actually like a pretty much a key gamma level there, Broadcom. They had a very bullish on the chart. If you look at their chart, they pretty much busted out of a couple weeks. All right. Of that, I don't. Now, technically, this should really relax here, Broadcom, after that big news and hitting the expected move. I'm just thinking about putting some kind of play on there. I might throw a butterfly on there. I'm not sure. I was trying to Jade Lizard yesterday, and I was just like, you know what? I don't know what this market's going to do. And Broadcom's a little wild. All right. Tesla down 2.29. And then your Coinbase. Your Coinbase pulled back to a very key level yesterday. The breakout level, 351. But that has went back under because Bitcoin's weakness. Okay. Now, we're going to go to our top sectors. Let's see who's moving markets there. So we're back to these staples, PepsiCo, McDonald's, Walmart, all flat, right? And then we'll go to the one percenters here: Chevron, Exxon, Oracle, Qualcomm down 1.47, Palantir down 1. Goldman Sachs down 2%, GE Vernova down 2.48. Let's get a little more granular here and see. Ooh, Domino's Pizza is up 4.1%. Interesting. I think it's Papa John's. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure that's Papa John's. Interesting that Domino's Pizza and Papa John's, maybe a sympathy play. Let's see. Papa John's report earnings? No. Maybe there's some news here with Domino's that I'm not aware of. Oh, they had earnings. Domino's had earnings. All right, so Papa John's in sympathy with Domino's. All right. ARM up 2%. All right, let's look at the laggards here. Let's see. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of crypto, Bitcoin related stuff that's down. Yep. MicroStrategy, Bitcoin ETF down 4%. Mara Mining down 3.95%. Alibaba, Riot, Intel, Tilray, Wheatstock, Western Digital, hard drives, Vertiv, data build out, Marvel, Semi. All right, so those are the usual suspects of Bitcoin and semis down. Okay, we're going to move on here. Two sectors. Two sectors. Let's see here. Now, flat is staples. Interesting. Utilities. That makes sense. Real estate, healthcare. That makes sense. And then the big boys here: discretionary down 0.93, energy down 1.19, technology down 1.21, semiconductors down 1.80. So definitely a risk off market. Risk off market. All right. Now we're going to move on to economic calendar. We got a lot of Fed speak today. Fed Powell speaking today. Okay. Let's get into this. So, 8:45 Fed Bowman, 12:20 p.m. is Fed Chair Powell. I'm hoping to be done by the markets by then. Okay. Um, yeah, that's really all there. Let's see the juice here. I talked about China in the U.S. trade tensions escalating, so this is why this market is getting some weakness. Today, let's see, we got a bunch of stuff with BlackRock, J.P. Morgan, Johnson & Johnson at earnings as well. Let's see if there's any Trump stuff. No Trump stuff I see. Okay, let's get to more news here. J.P. Morgan profit rises on investment banking boom. Wells Fargo profit rises on higher interest income. J&J to spin off orthopedics business. Raises full year forecast. BlackRock's assets hit record 3.46 trillion. Google to spend 15 billion on AI data center and biggest India investment. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Nothing really else to see here. Let's see if there's any upgrades or downgrades that we could talk about here. DoorDash upgraded. Okay. Downgrades. Are these from yesterday? No. These are from today. Nothing really shocking there. All right. I think we can move on. Earnings calendar. Let's just put it up there. Just see you reported this morning. BlackRock, J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Wells Fargo, Johnson & Johnson, Domino's Pizza, Erickson's, Albertsons. Okay. Nothing really after the close here. Tomorrow, before the open, is ASML, Progressive, Dollar Tree, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Citizens Financial Group, Abbott Labs. Okay. And then we have United. That's pretty much it for tomorrow. All right, let's look at the daily charts. All right, here's the daily charts. That bar is just so big. It's crazy. Just crazy. Okay. What do we do? Yesterday we hit the 9 EMA and the 20-day simple moving average and got rejected. Okay. Got rejected. But obviously the lows were down here. The close, that's just a very hard bar to be. You're inside this big bar. Market was weird yesterday. Okay. Very weird. Where are we now? 657.40. 657.40, folks. We are down here in the lower third of Friday session. We're gapping down. Let's look at futures here. Okay, you can see. Oh, okay. Now we're at yesterday's lows. Yesterday's lows at a 24-hour session. Right here. Okay. So, we came up here in futures, hit the 20-day simple moving average, 9 EMA daily, sold off. So now we hit the 50-day moving. Look at that. Right to the 50-day moving average in futures. Right to the 50-day. Now notice up here I have /ESZ25 in there. If you just put ES, I don't believe you'll see the 50-day moving average there like I do, because this is a continuous contract. Let's just see. I'm pretty sure it's not the same. Yep. See that? 50 moving average is not the same. So we'll go back here. to the Z because I want to match my NinjaTrader. Okay, came right down to the 50-day moving average. All right, now Qs. So Qs run right between that 9 EMA daily and the 20-day simple moving average. It found a rejection at last month's highs. Last month's highs in the Qs, that's where it got rejected. Where is it now? 595.60. 595.60, which is right here. Okay? At a prior weekly lows, basically. Right here. Let's look at futures. So you can see we were wicking down farther right here. Just kind of a mess inside this big candle. It's a pretty big mess. Okay. All right. Let's move on. We're going to get right into just a little market internals recap here. Okay. So, a couple things here. You can see yesterday the equal weight was a little weaker than the market cap. But however, look at these ratios. It was because of the big back gap up, but 5-1 buying going to up, volume going into up stocks versus down stocks, 3-1 in the Nasdaq exchange. So this is not very bearish. I understand we gapped up pretty big though, so these numbers get skewed. However, that's the beauty of internals. They're off the open, not the close. This doesn't care about the close on Friday. So this showed me we were just strong. We gained strength. Okay. This is why right here, that's why I'm showing this here. This monthly gamma flip point is very powerful. 66.20. We came down here twice. And that's where I put my bull put credit spread on the SPX. That was for $370 in credit, and I took it off, I believe somewhere around here, I believe. And I took it off for like a $230 profit. It literally, when it went up here, I think it was at zero. I would have probably taken it off for like 360, 350 bucks. I just didn't trust. See how this market came up here and it was just moving sideways. So I was like, you know what? Let me just take the money and run. So that's why I did that. So yeah, pretty much bullish internals yesterday. Okay, I had that little blip, but the market really didn't get that weak. That was really it. That's your market internals. All right, now let's go to that hourly charts here. Okay, we'll look at the ES. So that's such a nasty day. Boy, is that nasty. So we're looking at the hourly charts here. You can see, why is that not up there? I'm just going to show you my relative volumes. Pretty elevated today, right here. We're at 300% in NASDAQ above regular volume, 258% above regular volume in the ES. So, yeah. Expect a whippy market today. Okay? Expect a whippy market. Now, let's get simple. Let's do this. Let's bring this chart down a little bit. All right. So, yesterday was here. That's all we did. Right? Inside this big day on Friday. Okay, that's what we did. This anchor V up right here is from September 2nd. All right, that was that. We dipped and just got bought, and we ripped all the way up to all-time highs from there. We are now, buyers are underwater here, so interesting. That's one. Okay. Now, what else that I have to note here? This level around 66.96, 6,700 is ultimate balance now. It is your most traded price of the rolling month and the rolling week. Big moves happen from ultimate balance. This is why we pushing away from it. You're getting a big move. You took out all of these buyers, right? And now you filled this gap from the overnight right here to the tick almost. Look at that right there. Okay? That's why we bottomed here. Okay, now I threw an anchored VWAP from the highs in the overnights right here to show me where sellers are. This is the average seller. It's right there. So I'm going to watch this, and it's in the supply zones to see once we test this supply in this anchored VWAP, what can we do? Do we fail and roll over and go test last week's lows, Friday's lows? I don't know. Okay, if we do fall, we have a high volume node here, right here, where I think we could fall. That would be around 65.26. Okay, so just have to see. This is wild. Okay, very, very wild. All right. So this is your ES. Now, let's look at the NASDAQ. Okay. So NASDAQ was more relatively weak this morning. Okay. We are also in ultimate balance. So that 248 that I was talking about yesterday is the most traded price of the week and the month. Farther away you get from this, all longs are getting punished. Okay, farther you go above it, all shorts are getting punished. Any big move away from this is pretty bearish. Okay, pretty bearish. So we're under the 248s. So now you kind of, just like in the ES, you kind of got to think a little bit of a bearish bias. Okay, now here's that little gap. It's smaller. Did we come to it? Let's see. We did not fill that gap in the NASDAQ, actually. We did in the ES. So interesting. Okay. We bounced off this right here. This is a high volume node. Composite high volume node. That level is like 24520s. Okay. So let's see. Now I put an anchor view up from the highs in the overnights to see where sellers, the average seller is positioned here. Okay. Now, as long as we stay under 248s, it's bearish. Any retest of these 248s and fail, oof, we could go lower. Okay, we could go lower. But I don't know, right? This is a very tricky market right now. A lot of volatility inside a big session, and we're trying to find our way. Because yesterday it was like, all right, Trump said it's all good, but now China is retaliating a little bit, and now it's like, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is not good. Very hard to have a bias in the market right now. Even yesterday, I was thinking of putting some plays on, and I'm like, do I trust this overall market right now? Do I have a good feel of where we're going to be? No, I don't. I do not have a high conviction of what we're going to do, this market. I just don't. I just don't. I got to be honest with myself. I really don't know what we're going to do, right? The only way I'm going to have a better feeling is how do we react here to the lows of Friday, right? That's about it. A little bit intraday how to react here, but not like a week from now for me to start putting like some options plays on. I don't have any high conviction, right? Because what? We're going to go all the way back to here I don't know. This make the markets tough, right? That's what makes a swing trader's life right now very hard. Okay, very hard. All right, that's the hourly charts. Let's move on to the market profile, volume profile. And I'm really liking crude. I'm gonna get a play in crude to go long. I'm waiting to that market to bottom out. So, all right, now we're back to the market profile, volume profile analysis here. And we'll look at some levels together. Actually, let's push this up a little bit. Alrighty. Big overnight session. I believe this session was muted because of the banks and the holiday, Columbus Day, and the bond market being closed. I think that which made this a little weirder. And now look, really have a 112 point session in the overnight. Interesting, right? Very interesting. We are gapping down. Okay, we had a poor low yesterday, the lows. Okay, let's look. The profile right now is showing us that 60. What did I say? 66.95. That's your ultimate balance level. Okay, right here. So that for me, stay below that. You got to have a little bit of a bearish bias. Okay, just like the 248s in the Nasdaq. So we're just gonna throw. You know what? Let's do this. There's a big supply zone, so we're gonna just supply zone encompasses that. So let's just do that. That's my bull bear. That's my bias line, if you want to call it that. Market's right here. So gap fill 6661s has a poor low here. That also, look at that, happens to be the midpoint of the overnights. So this becomes a very key level here. Gap fill, and we'll hook it up with this supply zone here. Like that. Okay, so that's the 50% retracement of the overnight, and it happens to be the gap fill. Okay, and you have supply zones here. Okay, you have the most traded price of the overnights. That is 6635s. 6635s. So I'm going to put a little zone here too as well, because most likely those are shorts in here. Okay, we do have some excess here. We haven't tested. We did test the close of Friday at the overnight lows. So what I'm going to do is put a little box here, because that is overnight lows, Friday's close, and happens to be the most traded price of Friday right here. So interesting, right? Interesting. So this is our session. Okay, if I break this out, see the price action of the overnight. Okay, that's the price action. So I'm just looking if there's anything else that I'm missing. I don't think there is. Okay, all right, so let's get into scenarios here. Maybe I can make this a little. No, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so we're going to start with the bear side. All right, so we have a supply all up in here. You can see the price action's really been concentrated in here. Okay, multiple supply zones in here. Okay, so what could you expect today? We're gapping down, right? All the way up here is gap fill. Volatility is rising, almost up to a 22 VIX. Okay, If we come down, I want to see. All right, let's say we just push down, but then I want to see if we retrace back to this most traded price of the overnight in this supply. What we do in this area. This is very key, especially right here. Okay, if we get any weakness in lower highs, I think we take out those overnight lows, and I think we test Friday's lows. That's 69. I'm sorry, 65.89s. If you break that, I believe this could cascade down all the way down to this 65.25s, about that high volume node here. Okay, I think that would really panic the markets because you have longs that got long from the lows here, longs that got longs from the open of Sunday night. Then you had another higher low here from yesterday. So you have long, long, long getting paid, right? Hence why this market. Now, what I'm thinking is if you're in options and you were long yesterday, you are in trouble. This is not good because you can't do anything until the market opens. So if you are long here, here, or here, that is not going to be a good feeling when you're gapping down today. So that's why I think this move could happen. Okay. Now, of course, we could always pull back, fill the gap right to that key support. I'm sorry, resistance level around 66.60, but just close to yesterday's gap fill, yesterday's lows. Okay. This is also the midpoint in the other end. I think this is the last line where sellers can engage. Even if we did this, got lower highs, we could cascade down and at least test Friday's lows. Okay? It's kind of what probably interested in. And of course, let's see how the market opens. Is it weak? Is it neutral? That's all going to guide me today. Like I said, today I probably will look for be a scalper. What's up, Colorion? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Colerion, Colerion, not sure, but thanks for coming up. If you're saying, do you think all hell breaks down today after Powell speaks? I think we can drop a good 3%. Cole Rion. Cole Rion. Okay, Cole Rion. Cool. If break 46, it's all hell from there. Spy. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine, man. That's the one thing I don't know. I just trade what I see. Um, 46, I don't know. I did my uh, analysis earlier on SPY. I don't know if you were watching that, but basically futures, yeah. If we lose the 65.89s, Friday's lows, I think that could cause some pain here. All right, being that we bounced and now, we have to see. This market is very headline risk, so I don't predict. You know what I mean? Who knew this was gonna happen? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? If anybody knows, that's suspect to me. Okay? I'm just a scenario guy. If we do this, we might do this. But if the market does this, then I got to react to it. That's how I am with the markets. I've learned you don't outsmart the markets. You can't outsmart markets. It doesn't work. You just got to go with the flow. Okay? Now, bull side. Bull side. All right. So okay, let's say we do one of these. All right. we take out the low from Friday. But let's say the market isn't that weak in internals, okay? And we do one of these, whoop, and start to get some higher lows, and the market starts firming up, okay? This could be a long, okay? And then we could start to build a range and see how far we can go and fill the gap, okay? This could be definitely a bear trap, okay? Because we don't know what's going on with China and U.S. We don't know. Trump could tweet something today, tweet or post on his social, True Social, about like, hey, we're working it out or something. I don't know. But that's why my internals are very key. Okay? Because something like this definitely can happen. Okay? Now what's key here? You have to understand ultimate balance here. Okay? Mentioned that earlier. So 66.95 is your bull bear line. It's my bias line. Stay under it, bearish. Above it, bullish, right? Now you just have to understand here, these overnights right here, the overnight highs, they're getting paid right now. That's a nice short, right? So if we hit those Friday lows, right, and we don't get continuation, if we don't get continuation, this kind of wick would signify possible profit taking. Okay? And like I said, if the market's not that weak, we're going to go back up. And then what happens is we could set up a balance area here. Okay? And that's just indecision. Now, if we open up and we just come up and break these supply zones right here, right? And because we're so volatile, we fill the gap, retest that overnight VPOC, that could also bring us back to ultimate balance, 66.95s. Okay? And ultimately, we could start a balance range. Okay? Because, like I said, when the market is indecisive, this could be our balance. Okay? That's looking like it might be our balance area. If we do not make a move out to the lows and we do not break the 66.95s today, this could be a balance area. Okay? And what that does is set up, right? What does it set up? Well, it sets up this area. And then the more our spring coils, the more energy, the bigger the move, right? So that's how you got to look. That's how you got to look at it. That's how you got to look at it. Okay? I do not know what's going to happen. Zero. I only react. Okay? I have no clue. I don't have any swing trade on right now. I don't have any trade on right now. All I'm doing is looking at this market, saying we're volatile and we're in this U.S. trade China deal that's got tension, and any minute positive news can come out and change it. Any minute negative news can come out and change it. So who knows, right? That's how you have to look at the markets. You got to be fluid and not have too much bias, right? Because there's things that you want, right? Would I love a 50% crash and I can load up and dollar cost average into a lot of stocks that I have? Sure. Sure. Right? So let's look at your NASDAQ. All right? Now your NASDAQ, woof. What a wild overnight session. What a wild overnight session. Okay? Let's look at some of the things that this session has done. Overnight hit the month to date anchored VWAP. Okay, notice how the anchored VWAP for the month is red, right? That just means sellers are in control this month. Came all the way up to the month-to-date anchor VWAP, found resistance. Okay, that's in the overnight. Because it's very interesting. The market opened here and went up here right to that anchored VWAP, found sellers, right? Right to the anchored VWAP. Okay, and now we're gapping down, right? We got a gap. This is our gap fill, 24724s, or 224724s. That's gap fill. Now, what does that encompass above it? Well, we're in ultimate balance again in the NASDAQ, right? Remember, ultimate balance, huge moves happen from ultimate balance. So this is your ultimate balance right here, 248s. There's your gap fill. Price is here. Okay? There is a supply zone right there as well. Now, your midpoint of the overnight kind of matches up with 248s. Okay? Right here, you have an overnight low. This is a very key level here. Right? Very key. Why? Right? You have a composite high volume node from the past. That's why that box is there. And we found support there twice. That's around the 24520s, I think. Let's look at this. Yeah, 24520s. Okay? That is a very key level. Your overnight low is very key in the NASDAQ. That's your 24509s. Very key. I would call that a confluence low. All right, we break that. We're going to go down to these lows on Friday, which is 24384. Okay? And the close. Okay? Obviously, we got supply with the month-to-date anchor VWAP here. Now, big move. You go down to this high volume node from the past here in supply and demand zone, and we're going to call it 24166s. 24166s. This could be where we end up if it's weak. All right, let's break the session out. Okay, let's just see. Those are just 30-minute bars. Okay, 30-minute bars. And we're going to get into scenarios now. Big gap downs are never easy to trade. Okay, they're just not. They're not easy. Sometimes equities are better to trade them off of big gap downs. Okay, market has to digest a lot of these. When you're gapping down that much, the market has to digest it. Like I said, right? I said longs. If you were long on Friday, you got paid. You're getting paid, right? You got a higher low on Sunday night. You got another higher low on yesterday's session, right? And then you got this move. If you're in futures, you had to take profits here, right? But if you're in options, you can't do that in the overnight, right? So now look, we're below the lows of yesterday. So longs are going to feel the pain if we push lower. Okay? Okay. We are going to start with the bear side. I don't know if I threw this up yet. I'm going to do it again. Korean, you still with me? Let's see here. Maybe you're just an ES SPY guy. I'm not sure. But we're going to go with the bear. All right. We have supply right here. You can see the congestion here and the explosive move down, right? So let's see what we can do here. Let's see if we move up. Test. This is the gap fill, folks. If you do one of these, get rejected, take out those overnight lows, and that key level here, you'd go past that level, 24520s, and the market's getting weak. We're going to test Friday's lows, last week's lows. Okay, like I said, I think this has caused a big panic with all these longs. If the market continues to get weak and you go all the way down to below the 242s. I think the 24165s. That would be a big dump. Okay. Now, the 248 is very crucial here because if we get some type of buying coming in, and let's say it's fast, and we start to test, we go back into yesterday's range, but yet you have to take the 248s out. Underneath the 248s, I have to have a bearish bias, right? So what if we did this, but then wicked, retested it? Yep, that's a short. You're going to test the overnight lows and see if you test Friday's lows. That could be it. And then gravy on top is the move down. Okay? That's what I'm looking at as far as the shorts. Long side. Long side. Like I said, this could be another bear trap. Okay? So if we just gap and go, boof, take out this level. And everyone's like, oh boy. But let's say this happens very quickly. And the market is not that weak internally. See, this is the advantage of internals. I can see if the market is weak or not. Not because of the gap down. Because if you see stocks from their yesterday's close and then you see stocks in your list, it's going to just be all red because everything's below yesterday's close. But my internals look at everything from the open, from 9:30. So I know it's driving markets, right? So if this market is not that weak, and we do a little sweep here, those lows, and we recover higher low, that is your long. Okay? And then guess what's going to happen is everybody who's short all the way up to those overnight highs are going to cover. Okay? Your trade could just be to here. Gravy on top of it is really pushing back into yesterday's range and filling that gap. And then eventually going back to the 248s. And then guess what, folks? If you take that out, you can go a little higher. Now, what does that mean? If you get that bear trap, this could be our New Balance area. Like I said, we're indecisive right now. We're coming into earnings season, right? So we have a good chance of balancing here. And now remember, 248 is ultimate balance. Okay? Okay, that's one. Another one. All right, let's say we push up, break the supply, and retest the overnight VPOC right there. And that level is, let's say it's 24655s. If it holds, you target 248s. That would be a nice trade. Right? Gravy on top is if we hold, we can push back up. Test yesterday's highs. Okay? That's what I'm looking at today, folks. That's it for me. All right, smash the like button if you enjoyed the analysis and you can help my channel out. All right, and as always, hopefully you guys subscribe, set an alert. I do this every morning. Let me be your morning coffee. Let me be your morning tea, water, whatever. And let me give you the market story. All right, let me be your news. I'll give you the headlines. All right, why stocks are moving. Not here to sit here and tell you I predict anything, because that's stupid. Nobody predicts anything. Nobody knows. Trust me, nobody does. I can have a feeling if this lines up, we could go here, but I'm not stuck on that scenario. I'm not like, I'm as right. It doesn't mean anything. Even if somebody tells me, I think we're going to have a recession next year, but maybe they said that every year. Well, they're going to be right eventually. It doesn't mean anything. Okay? It doesn't mean anything. So you just got to flow with probabilities. That's what I like to do. Okay? That's what I like to do. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage from me, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, sign up. Let me be your indicator. Okay? Now today, like I said, I think my game plan today, because I know it's going to be whippy and volatile, probably I don't scalp generally. Now, today will probably be different. I probably will. Or if a setup's undeniable on an edge or something, on a big, big level, maybe I'll scale in, maybe. However, I always have my SPX. I might throw credit spreads on. I might do some broken wing butterflies. I might do something with SPX where I'm not in like a future stop loss. Okay? Because that worked out for me. I've been actually was looking at my stats since I've been doing them. I think at the end of September, I'm pretty profitable in the SPX credit spreads because I generally know what ranges we're going to stay in based on internals. So, if you want to see this, you come to my Discord. Okay, I post those trades. All right. If you don't understand it, ask me a question. All right. So, hope to see you there. And again, everybody, we have our plan. Hope everybody stays green today. Remember, no trade is a trade. So, if I see you on my Discord, great. If I don't, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.